All right, all right, all right. Welcome in. Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 190. We are closing in on 2 centuries as a podcast duo. And that duo, one half of the duo is my guy, Justin Stevens, at JustinFF_. Justin, what's cooking?
Hey, what's going on, John? We've got a little special episode today where we're talking about redraft. But before we get to the redraft, it's what everybody keeps messaging me about. Like everybody keeps saying, "Hey, what's the results? What's the results?" Well, here you go. We're gonna get the results.
Man, so the results he's talking about. So Frankenstank, if you're not familiar with Frankenstank by now, you must be new to the channel. It is our listener league, also friend of the show. Friends of the show are in this league. We're up to 96 teams. It is absolutely bananas. We have a playlist on YouTube you can go back and check out where Justin and Chris, the Iceman, broke down some playable cards. And I'm hearing so it's a league with playable cards, vampire style, all sorts of crazy stuff. We can't break it all down right now, but it is awesome. Every year we add teams. Go to toiletsandtitles.com if you want in Frankenstank in the future. If you want in Frankenstank now, chances are people are going to duck out. It's 96 teams. Hopefully no one does. So sign up on toiletsandtitles.com. You can look at the Frankenstank tab, and there's a link to sign up that you'll generate an email right to toiletsandtitles@gmail.com, and we will add you. But anyway, check out the playlist, the Frankenstank playlist, where you could see all these videos of Justin and Chris breaking down playable cards. And we did a mock draft. So Frankenstank started 3 years ago. We're going into our fourth year, I believe. And it is, it started with one 14-team league, and it started with like just a stream of consciousness where we just kind of brainstormed some ideas. In year two, we brainstormed some more. Last year, we added playable cards, and now it's kind of taken off a mind of its own. And we're getting ready for the draft. And the way the draft works with Frankenstank is we have a rock, paper, scissors competition in each division. And the winner of the division gets to decide the draft order for the rest of the division. And then this year we added the runner-up now gets to win something, essentially. The runner-up gets to decide which of the first 12 rounds you, being the other members in the division, have to pick a card. Okay? So each round will be selected once. And if you're listening, if you're in the Frankenstank League, if you came in first place, you need to let us know by Friday at noon the draft order. And by us, you could let me know at Coach Sheps, Justin at JustinFF_. You could reach out to us in the Gilded chat, or generally I'd rather you reach out to the commissioner, and the commissioner of your division made it aware. And I'm sure he'll be reaching out to you, and you let him know. Then we'll input the draft order. And then the runner-up has until Sunday at noon to decide what round for each person to pick a card by. The person who runner-up, you could wait to see the draft order, or you could just say, forget it, and submit it prior to seeing the draft order. But Justin, one of these wild things, wild things have been happening to us a little more often than not over the past few months as we start to grow. There was a mock draft of our Frankenstank League on another YouTube channel yesterday. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so it was the the mad scientist. He his name's Aaron St. Dennis. He's actually in the Frankenstank, and he has his own podcast again, FF Mad Scientist, and he wanted to do another mock draft. He said that he felt like he needed more practice, which, yes, we all need more Frankenstein practice because it's such a wild league. It doesn't matter how much practice you get. Every little bit's going to help. So he said he wanted to do one for his show. So I hopped in the mock just to kind of see how it worked. And yes, it is crazy. And there was a lot of pausing and a lot of reiterating the wordage for some rules and that sort of stuff. So, but it all came together.
I thought they had a good grip on it, though.
Yeah.
I was impressed with how well our craziness was channeled and digested.
Yeah. And then Chris Iceman and myself in the chat were kind of helping to guide on that end, but he had guys on his show that were popping in to help out too. So it was definitely fun to see another platform talking so much about Frankenstein.
Man, and you're going to the Fantasy Football Expo this week, and a lot of fantasy enthusiasts are heading there. And you are doing, which I'm upset I'm going to miss, the first ever live and in-person Frankenstank draft, which is absolutely bananas. The draft board I've seen is phenomenal. Shout out to everybody who's going to be doing there. So, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Frankenstank live draft, which will be this Friday night?
I'm excited, man. I never actually imagined that it would get to this point. So, like, I've always wanted a live draft there. You know that I've been trying to push it, and we finally got to the point where it's here. And I do want to say, since we're talking about it, it's going to be on a big board. I was going to have it for tonight's show, but we ended up shooting early and I didn't put it back up. But it's a very large board. It has magnets that it's a magnetic board. So it's just like back in the old school days for you old timers that used to only be able to do it that way before, ESPN and all those sites started putting it all virtually online. We had to do things pen and paper and stickers on a board and everything. So it's kind of taking it back old school. But since we're talking about it, I do got to say I have another opening because I have a gentleman that's kind of ghosted us. He hasn't paid, and I had a plan B. That plan B has now fallen through. So I have a plan C that I can make work. I just don't want to have to do it. So we have another opening for the live draft. If you're going to the expo, if you're going to be there Friday by 2:00, it's at the Jersey's Bar and Grill at the Centennial Park, which is right downtown in Canton where all the stuff is going to happen. That starts at 2, and then 6:00 at Centennial Park, where we're already going to be at, is the first big party for like the opening night party for the expo. So you're already going to be there. So just get there 4 hours early and join our live draft. I do have other people that said that they're going to show up just to watch, and they might filter in and out. I could probably snag one of them, but I want somebody that's definite. That's going to say that they're going to be there. So please, if you're going to be there, you're going to be live, and you're going to be there at 2:00. Help us out. Join the Frankenstank, or if you're already in the Frankenstank, maybe we can just move you over and find a spot. But regardless, show up, have fun with it, be a witness of the first ever, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more lives moving forward.
I'll split if it's somebody who's never been in Frankenstank before. Entry is $25. I'll split it with you. All right. I will split it with you. Reach out to me on the Twitter. Hey, coach, I want to get in this thing. I'm going to be there. I want to draft live, and I will send you the videos. You could ask me any question you want. I'll get you in our Gilded chat, and you will be prepped by Friday. You will be ready to go. So reach out to us. Let's get you in there. So, Justin, man, let's move on a little bit. But I know we got some recent Apple Podcast 5-star reviews. So shout out to the people throwing us some reviews. It'd be greatly appreciated if anybody listening at home threw us one. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. I know we're closing in on 1,500 subscribers, so that's pretty awesome. Throw us a like, throw us some comments. But let's hear one of our latest 5-star reviews.
All right, so the most recent 5-star review. Actually, you know what? Not even going to call this one a 5-star review. This was a Patreon review. So this one came to us straight from a Patreon, which also greatly appreciated. You can also send us reviews through our DMs or through Patreon. But Dustin Hetrick has been gone for a little while from the Patreon. He recently came back. He said, "You guys have made my season better every year. Much more help than all of those so-called big podcasts." And I did the air quotes for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts right now. So a big podcast, which clearly you guys are in your own way also achieving. So we greatly appreciate you, Dustin, for hopping back on board with the Patreon, but also your continued support. You signed up for that mock last night, so you've been a huge pivotal part of everything from day one. So we're only happy that we're able to give back just a little bit to your fantasy teams.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Excellent. And having guys like Dustin, having the Patreons in there, it's absolutely phenomenal. Like, it keeps us going. And we have a lot of active members in our Gilded chat. We have over 190 people in there. We're talking fantasy football. We're talking gambling in there with playing with House Money Crew. If you want to join a fantasy football community for free, where we do mock drafts weekly, multiple mock drafts weekly, reach out to us on the Twitter again at Coach Sheps, or the show at Toilets Titles, or Justin at JustinFF_. We'll get you the link to Gilded. We'd love you to join our community. Let's hit 200 very soon. Or if you want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/Toilets to Titles. Man, I think let's plug Rival Fantasy real quick before we move on and finally let everybody know who the winners of these divisions are.
Hey, right on. So you see that patreon.com/toilets titles down there. There's another way to support us is through Rival. And you see that just under my name tag here. But for those of you listening at home, it's joinrival.com/title tribe. So how this works is just like a gaming site as far as the way that the accounts are set up, any gambling site. But the gambling itself is not like any other gambling site. So this is fantasy sports gambling. All right. So it's mostly baseball, basketball, and football. Right now, we're diving into football season, guys. And you can bet right now on Rival through preseason games. So it's joinrival.com/title tribe. When you make your first deposit, all of the amount up to $200 will be matched by Rival. So that means you're dropping in 200, you're going to come out of it with 400. But on top of that, just for using that link right there, joinrival.com/title tribe, they will also give you an additional $25 just for using our link. So that's now $425 on a $200 deposit. If it's a $25 deposit, you're coming out of it with $75 to bet. So either way, like no matter what, you put money in, you're going to get free money back. So there's no gambling money better than free gambling money. So hop in now. Your first deposit's matched, an additional 25. Joinrival.com/title tribe.
All right, it is time, everybody. I see all the people viewing in here. The shenanigans have begun for Frankenstank. We've been spending the whole week doing rock, paper, scissors competitions. We started with the bracket. We randomized the bracket. And we got to the finals. And I told everybody when we got to the finals, I appreciate everybody being patient because it took about a week, but something that didn't need to finish right away. We wanted to kind of spread it out, make it a little enjoyable because we got about a month till the season. So I'm going to start with the Frankenstank division. Again, I want to reiterate, first place, you have to tell the commissioner of your division, or me or Justin, by noon on Friday, the draft order for your division. Okay, you select the draft order 1 through 12. You come in second place, you have to tell the commissioner by Sunday at noon which round of the first 12 rounds each person in your division has to draft a card by. So that's clear. Let's crown. Should we just I guess we'll crown the champ because if so Frankenstank division, the competition was between Dylan Whitmer, the Slender Man, and Carla Ross, who is Falcor. Okay. Falcor won, came in first place. Dylan Whitmer, you are second place in the Frankenstank division. The Invisible Urinal division, Sinister 2 Electric Boogaloo won against Mick Taylor of Wolf Creek, and Mick Taylor came in first place. Congratulations, Mark Holmes. And Sinister 2 Electric Boogaloo, Primetime Mock, who we discussed earlier, came in second place. So congratulations there, because I know some people were saying they'd rather come in second than first because they'd rather decide that. But all right, now Creature from the Staff Bathroom. This is the division I am in. And I hope everybody listening at home who isn't familiar with Frankenstein, I hope you enjoy the names of these divisions. because, and also, if you win Frankenstein, for anybody listening who didn't read all the bylaws, you get to name one of the new divisions next year. So that's an added perk. But anyway,
and for those of you wondering, all of the names of these divisions were inspired by about a 25-minute sit on the toilet for John. He just sat there on the John and he was just listening and kind of feeling the vibes, and he came up with the division names that way.
Yeah, that's it. That's how a lot of things happen. But all right, Creature from the Staff Bathroom. My dude Anthony Reiner Graboid at Fantasy Sven won against Nahul. That's Carlos Honda, and Nahul came in first, and Graboid came in second. Phantom of the Porta Potty, Wolf Predator won against the Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster, which is Neil Gray, came in first. Wolf Predator, who is a Patreon, Mark Simon, came in second place, and I sent him one of these sweet new shirts, which you get $10 off if you are a Patreon member. So shout out to Mark, who's a Patreon member. Night of the Living Silent but Deadlies. Swamp Thing versus Swamp Gator. So there was a lot of swamping going on in this. And this is a T2T member. Jason at BFTG Jason. Swamp Thing came in first, representing T2T. So that we have out of 6 divisions, we have a T2T member who won one of them. So shout out to him.
The cool part about that is I made sure that none of the T2T members had a first round bye, and I'm going to do that every year. Because I just think that it's better to let our listeners have that bye if we can. Other than that, it's randomly drawn. But so I don't think that we've ever had a T2T member actually win one because of that.
I came in second last year. I came in second last year.
This would have been the year to get second.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You get something. So shout out to the Swamps. Finally, the Brosco of Bagul. So this is a division named by the Iceman, and he won last year's league. So it fits right in with the rest of them. Brosco is a brand of toilets, in case you're listening at home. Mark said no. Mark Simon, no, let my Yehuda down. I don't know what the hell a Yehuda is. But Mark, most people want to come in second.
Yeah.
All right. So you get to choose who has to pick a card by when. And you can kind of use it to your advantage. You can wait till the draft order is set and you can mess around with whatever. I won last year, but wasn't T2T then. That's true,
And
Iceman.
Fantasy Sven, Graboid, your buddy, said that the year that he won Frankenstank, he also won the rock, paper, scissors contest. So he had good feelings going into this final. And then now that Carlos won, but he got second place, which also is kind of a win. So I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. All right. The final one. Teen Wolf won against Balerion the Black Dread, which is a character, I think, from Game of Thrones. Teen Wolf, which is Spied 78, came in first. Valerion the Black Dread came in second. So we have crowned the first and second winners for each division. You have until Friday if you came in first. You have until Sunday if you came in second. And we could start organizing and scheduling drafts, and we'll have some ADP.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, I do remember that now. Now that you mention it. Yeah.
Yehuda is I hope I pronounced that correctly. I believe I did. But all right, so now we could schedule and organize the draft. And Justin, you're gonna have a draft Friday night, so we're gonna have some ADP. So it's all good stuff. Next week, either next week or the week after, we're gonna be giving $25 to the team with the best name. So so it has to be a new team and a new team who signed up. This is their first year. We're going to give $25 to the most creative names. So next week or the week after, me and Justin are going to take a handful of the ones that we really like. We're going to talk about it on air. We're going to crown a winner.
Maybe 8. I think 8 is a nice, good bracket.
Yeah, we'll go to 8. We'll discuss it, and maybe we'll have you all vote on it, or we'll talk about it on Gilded. You let us know. This is the first year we're doing this. We figured it's a way to $25 is an entry fee. We can have some fun. We try to kind of give everybody a little bit of something. So it's a good way to do that. So that's kind of it for Frankenstank. I do want to let everybody know at the other end of the season, the NFL draft. Check out toiletsandtitles.com. This is a crazy segue, but me and Joe Clark, we actually started our write-ups for the NFL draft. Last year, we started our player profiles. I want to say December-ish. And I think we had over 120 player profiles written up. I completed my first today, Dorian Singer, the wide receiver from USC, and obviously we'll be updating them throughout the season because all we have is their last year's film. We're starting early. So if you're interested in that stuff, toiletstitles.com, check out the NFL draft tab, player profiles. We'll be adding a 2024 tab over the next week or so. And that's really it. So let's get back. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, no, Joe, you did not miss the bidet. The bidet of Frankenstank still has yet to be completely filled. That's one that we're going to finish filling at Canton. So, after we get that filled on that Sunday, then we will do we'll figure something out for that one. As far as I don't know if we'll have time to do a full on rock, paper, scissors. We might do a wheel or something, but we'll figure something out for that division afterward.
Yes, that's the division we left open for those at the FF Expo. So check out Justin at his booth, which is at spot number 31 with the T2T guys. And they'll have a link you could click to get into the Gilded chat. They'll be giving out tons of stuff. They'll be having some lanyards, giveaways. And if you want to get into the bidet of Frankenstank, which is another division, you still want to play Frankenstank, check out with them at the FF Expo. We will get you in Frankenstank. We have one division left to fill, and this is something we will run after the FF Expo. All right, let's get into some redraft fantasy football, Justin. I'm going to let you start, man. I've been talking an awful lot. So who are some players that you are buying at their current redraft fantasy football ADP?
All right, so redraft players that I'm buying, I'm going to start off with the guy that's the most polarizing between the two of us because this is on your sell list, Coach. So I'm going to let you address that in just a little bit. But my first buy guy is actually DJ Moore. So I get that he was kind of a Twitter darling for a little bit over the offseason because he found a new home. He's going to a new offense. He's got Justin Fields, and then he's kind of started to die down a little bit. And now his ADP is at 508 overall, which is a wide receiver 20 overall. So while 508 might be a little high, maybe in my opinion, he's also the wide receiver 20, which is a little low. So for me, that's just because I don't normally take wide receivers that early. But if I'm hurting for a wide receiver and I need that that 5th round spot, and I see him sitting there as a wide receiver 20 overall on the board, I'm going to jump all over it. And here's the reason why. 1,040 yards, 73 receptions, 4 touchdowns on average over his 5-year career. With Cam Newton, only 21 of those games were with Cam. 14 of those were during his worst season, which was his rookie season. So that means for the whole rest of the other 4 years outside of his worst season, only 7 games with Cam Newton. And he also had a handful of games. He had 6 games with Baker Mayfield. Aside from that, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Will Grier, Teddy Two Gloves, PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, all of those guys are backups on their teams right now. And he still found a way for a career average in Carolina to average over 1,000 yards, 73 receptions, and 4 touchdowns every year. That's equal to what would have been last year, the wide receiver 14 overall. You can't tell me that Justin Fields is worse than all that other crap that I just named off.
Can I chime in?
Well, sure. That's why I started with him.
Oh, so Christian McCaffrey was there at one point. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton was there, and they were a high focal point of the offense. Mm-hmm. But other than Christian McCaffrey, I just feel in Chicago, in Carolina, they needed him to be the guy. In Chicago, the offense is going to revolve around the running game and Justin Fields. Do you agree?
Yeah, but I still feel like that's how it was most of his career with Carolina. It revolved around CMC.
But who else did they have at wide receiver? Now they got Chase Claypool, who they're saying is killing it in training camp. People are saying, I mean, the dude did well in Pittsburgh. It was his head that wouldn't get out of the way. And, I mean, Justin Fields, how much of a step is he going to take as a passer? You know, they got two-headed running back in Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Now they bring in Tyler Scott, who I think is going to be – so Tyler Scott and Darnell Mooney are 2 guys who I think are going to steal some of those short yardage targets, which are extension to the run game. Those little bubble screens that you think DJ Moore would get, there's some guys who can do that. So I think he's the most talented wide receiver on the team. I just don't know if this is a situation he's going to go in and be asked to do what he did in Carolina or be given the opportunity to do what he did in Carolina.
And see, I'm just the opposite. I think that this is exactly the same situation for him. I feel like they need him to be that wide receiver 1, but he was only the wide receiver 1 by default necessarily because there was nothing else there. I get all that, but I still don't feel like there's anything else there. And don't get me wrong, Chase Claypool from Notre Dame, obviously I'm a fan. I watched him. I've paid attention. I like the guy. But just like you said, his head gets in the way of himself, and his head kind of came with him when he went to Chicago. So unless he's fixed those issues, and also, I mean, his hands were kind of an issue at some games. I get he had that big 4 touchdown game or whatever, but aside from that, I mean, he didn't do a whole lot in Pittsburgh to make me think that he was going to come over and suddenly take that one spot. I don't know. I just really like DJ Moore. And like I said, absolute best case scenario or absolute worst case scenario, Justin Fields is no better than the rest of the squad that they had. They just paid big money to their tight end, mostly because the dude can block crazy good, and that offensive line isn't great, which means they're going to have to throw the ball more. I still think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I just think that this is the exact same situation that he had in Carolina. So at worst case, he's a high-end wide receiver 2 that you're getting as your wide receiver 20. That's my rebuttal.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't think either argument is off base, but I'm glad we got that one out of the way. Who's another player that you are buying at his current ADP?
Well, I think the next one that I would want to talk about probably is Juwan Johnson. I'm kind of a big fan of Juwan Johnson. I'm going off script here just in case we don't have time to hit them all. But just for those of you that follow us on the website, toylesstitles.com, I'm going to redirect all of these points that both of us are making into an article, and we'll post it on the website in the next few days. But also, if we don't get to all these, I'll share the rest of them with the Patreons and the Patreon chat on Gilded. I want to talk about Juwan Johnson. His ADP currently is 1405. He's the tight end 18 overall. Tight end 18 overall is where he finished the season last season. And he is the true tight end on the team because in my mind, and I'm sure everyone else thinks it's pretty obvious, Taysom Hill is not a tight end. Taysom rarely even lines up at tight end. And every time Taysom's on the field, Juwan usually is as well. They're not really competing for snaps. With Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston last season, Johnson finished where he is currently being drafted right now. So with Derek Carr as his quarterback, he's got to only improve, right? And then Michael Thomas, in my mind, coming back also helps. They say he's healthy. He's looking good in camp. So he's going to help draw some of that attention. That makes it even more likely for Johnson to find some open holes in the middle of the field. Additionally, Johnson's stats have grown exponentially in the past 3 seasons. Every single year, his stats are growing very high at a very high rate. And then this year is his 4th year, and that's historically known for being kind of the breakout season for tight ends. So I can see him having a huge breakout season this year. Let's see. I mean, that's pretty much all I have on Johnson. Like I said, I think if he doesn't improve at all and he's still that wide receiver tight end or that tight end number 18, you're still getting him kind of at cost. But I feel like he's going to take a big bump, and there's a good chance he's going to finish as a top 10, top 12 tight end.
I like it. Carlos asked in here, what's the worst draft spot I could assign Coach Sheps? And I responded number 1. You give me number 1, man. It's going to be real tough. It's going to be real tough for me to handle that spot. All right, I'm going to go with the player I'm buying at his current ADP. It's running back number 30, overall number 80. That's James Cook. Opportunity. Who's going to challenge this guy? You're going to get, at worst, a weekly RB2. In PPR, how he's going at RB30, it doesn't make sense to me because right now he's the guy there. Devin Singletary received 50-plus targets each of the last 3 seasons. I believe James Cook came out of college a better receiver. I think he's a better receiver right now than Devin Singletary ever was in Buffalo. So give me those 50 targets. Give me a full workload. And then I follow training camps. I'd like to keep touch with what's going on over there. So in Buffalo, this report is straight out of Bill's training camp from August 1st. It says James Cook is heavily involved in the pass game on day 6. Josh Allen completed 12 of 19 pass attempts through team drills. And of those 12 completions, second-year running back James Cook came down with 5 of them. Cook was easily the Bills' best offensive player with the first unit, making good reads on run opportunities and then showing off his speed and hands as an outlet for Allen. Cook has continued to look like the far and away top back at training camp and seems destined for at least over half of the offensive snaps. So I think in the fact that it's only 60%, even if he's not receiving 90% of the workload, 60% in the passing down targets, give me that. Give me that because that's going to equate high-end RB2 numbers. And that's a pretty safe floor. And if you're getting him at RB30, overall 80, it's a good chance he's your flex play. So I wouldn't mind him as a flex play. If he gets into the end zone here and there, he moves himself into RB1 category on any week. And then another guy, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I like that. I was one of the guys that was pretty big on Singletary early on. So watching him and having him in a few leagues, they definitely need an improvement somewhere. Cook, what little we got to see of him last year, he showed that he is that capable back. So I like it. And with Dalvin still being a free agent out there, I'd still love to see what the Cook brothers could cook up back there in that backfield.
It's weird. It's weird that Dalvin, I know big name free agents are usually linked to Dallas just to draw up the market. Mm-hmm. And you see that every year. Cowboys really don't bring in big name free agents. But he's been linked to Dallas a little bit. He's been like, seems like there's 3 teams. And then Zeke, who I told Kyle Yeomans, Kyle was on the show the first time he was on the show this offseason. I want to say back in like May, when right after Zeke was released, I said, they're going to bring him back. And he was shocked. But it just made sense. And now he's being linked to Dallas again. So Dallas is going to end up with one of those running backs. And it's only going to slightly affect Tony Pollard's outcome, but I could see him going to Buffalo. But then again, does he want to cut into his, like, do they want to play together, but they're playing the same position? So it's like, do they want to take away from each other, vie for touches? It's fine. It's a little, I
think as long as they pay Dalvin the money and knowing that James is still on his rookie contract, not much you can do about it. I think that they would probably love it, really.
Right. All right, here's another running back I'm buying. It's Dameon Pierce, running back number 18, overall number 45. This offseason, he stated he wanted to improve as a pass receiver. Everything we're seeing out of training camp, it looks like he has. He's getting all the touches there in Houston. And I also think they got a legitimate quarterback now. They got a kid who can play, but he's also a rookie quarterback. So they're going to lean heavily on the running game. They got wide receivers who are going to step up. John Mechie's healthy. They brought in Dalton Schultz. They got Tank Dell. They got Nico Collins. None of these guys are huge game breakers, but they're all, I think, going to be very solid. So they got solid receiving options, and they also have an offensive line that's going to improve. Kenyon Green was a rookie last year, the offensive guard. He should take a step. And then they also brought in Shaq Mason on the offensive line, who he's a very good run blocker. So the offensive line got better, quarterback position got better, but it's a rookie and it's going to need to lean on the running game. And he improved as a pass catcher at RB18. I think this guy's going to be finishing top 15 every week. So give me Dameon Pierce. And why don't you discuss some guys you're selling?
All right. So one of the guys that I'm selling, let's see, what did I write down here? What do I like? You know what? I'm going to say Kenneth Walker because he's actually on both of our lists. So give us a chance to talk about him from both of us. So he's currently the 401 ADP RB15 overall. Walker appears to be the RB1 out of Seattle right now, and he is very talented. We know this. I just don't really like the situation more so than the player. And like usually you want to go talent over anything else. But in this situation, he's got another talented running back behind him. On top of that, the Seahawks were already at the bottom third of the league in rushing attempts last season and the top half of the league of passing. Overall, one of the more balanced teams. So it seems like they've been that way the last couple of seasons. So I think Pete Carroll's trying to run more of a balanced offense, which is different. We usually see him run a lot. I get that. But he wants to run more of a balanced offense. Now they have Zach Charbonnet back there in that backfield. They drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, so they didn't really play their hand on, are they going to run more? Are they going to pass more? And I get there's a lot of talk coming out of camp. But when the talk is coming from the coaches, I don't listen because, I would probably lie too. But they want to try to keep that balanced offense. So if we're kind of splitting carries between Walker and Charbonnet, and I get there's a lot of injuries going on right now in camp, that's going to happen. Assuming they're all healthy and they're all going into the season, they're all going to split carries. One of them will probably explode if one of the other guys get hurt. But you're spending fourth round draft pick and hoping for an injury, and that's not how we want to play fantasy football.
All right, one of my sells is Daniel Jones, who's currently going at quarterback 14, overall 108. I don't believe he is going to be as good or better than Jared Goff or Russell Wilson, who are going a round later than him, or even Matthew Stafford is going 3 rounds later than him. I know they brought in Darren Waller. Jalen Hyatt, I think, is a big play guy. I think he's going to have his weeks, but this is year 2 in Brian DeBall's system. Defenses are going to have film on them. It's going to always year 2 in an offensive system. It's always harder on the quarterbacks. And then I'm hearing today they were scrimmaging in Detroit, and they could barely move the football against, they had an inter-squad scrimmage. They're practicing with the Detroit Lions, and they're barely moving the football. I don't think the Giants offense is going to be as good as people think it's going to be. I don't think Daniel Jones is a great quarterback. I don't think, I think he barely is a good quarterback. Quarterback 14, that's right on the cusp of quarterback 1. I'm not buying Daniel Jones for quarterback 1 price. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'll wait and I'll spend that pick somewhere else. Another guy I'm selling is Keenan Allen, who's right now wide receiver 22, which I'm pretty surprised by. Overall 45. He's 31 years old. He's going into his 11th season. He's coming off a season where he missed 7 games. He's kind of regularly, it seems like every year he's got something that, you look at his track record. He's usually missing 3 or 4 games here and there, but that's not terrible. What's terrible is he usually comes back too soon, and he comes back and he's always kind of got a nagging injury, and you have to worry about whether or not he's going to be pulled from the game or whether he's going to play the full game. That being said, Mike Williams, I expect to take a step. Quentin Johnson's going to take some targets, and Josh Palmer and Gerald Everett at tight end. Kellen Moore likes to incorporate throwing to the tight end. So that tight end is going to be taking some of his targets. I just feel like, I could get a wide receiver So let me tie this in to a guy I'm buying. So I'm selling Keenan Allen, who's a wide receiver 22. Let me go ahead. I'd rather spend a pick like that on Brandon Ayuk, who is currently going overall 72. He's going he's wide receiver 29. So 7 picks for wide receivers after Keenan Allen. Brandon Ayuk is a player who is about to explode on the scene. I planted my flag on him this year. Last year, I planted my flag on Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle burst out, broke out, even with Tua Tagovailoa missing games and having nobody to throw the quarterback. Skylar Thompson throwing the football. Dude, is a rookie, wasn't drafted high. Who knows if he'll be throwing passes at all in the NFL ever again. But Jalen Waddle still finished top 10. Each of Brandon Ayuk's first 3 seasons, he saw improvement in targets, receptions, and receiving yards. Last year, he passed a 1,000-yard mark for the first time in his career. This year, I expect there to be something steady at the quarterback position, whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's Trey Lance. If they can stay healthy, that's something steady. That should help him. I think Brandon Ayuk is the best. I think he's better than Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo Samuel's fun. I think he's electric. I think he's very good for fantasy football. But Brandon Ayuk, he's a phenomenal route runner, phenomenal hands, very good after the catch. He is very hard to cover, which makes he's very quarterback friendly. I think he's going to be the first 49ers wide receiver to go back-to-back seasons of over 1,000 yards since Anquan Bolt. I think it's going to happen. And I'm paying close attention to 49ers training camp as well. And everywhere, everything I'm seeing out of 49ers, like I'm hearing unguardable. Like this dude, and the 49ers defense isn't a bunch of slouches. It's not like he's running routes against like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. The 49ers defense is one of the best defenses of the NFL, and they're saying he is absolutely unguardable. So wide receiver 29, I am confident in him enough. When I draft, though, I'm not an idiot. I am not going to reach for somebody if I don't have to. I try to know my league. I try to know who's drafting with me. And as a podcaster, some people listen to me talk. So sometimes I have to reach for guys because people I'm drafting with, they know I really like them. And I might have to do that with Brandon Ayuk. But if I'm drafting in the league where nobody's high on Brandon Ayuk, I'll maybe take him at wide receiver 25, maybe take him 4 picks before he needs to go. But I'm not going to take him as my wide receiver 1. Or rather, let me reword that. I will take him as my wide receiver 1. I won't take him where the wide receiver 1s are going. Because I have in Scott Fishbowl, I took him as my wide receiver 1. I put my money where my mouth is because I went running back heavy early on, and I'm confident in him. So, Justin, do you have any other players you're buying or selling that you'd like to talk up?
Yeah, real quick on Brandon Ayuk, though. So I've slowly recently started to hear other people say that they're higher on Brandon Ayuk than Deebo as well. But just so you all know, you heard it here first several weeks ago. Like, Coach has been on Ayuk for a long time now. So they've all heard it from Coach. And then also on Keenan Allen, I like this one also because – in the last 4 seasons, and he's played the majority of the season. Like you said, he only misses about 1 to maybe 5 games at most. And most seasons, it's only 1 or 2 games that he misses. He still only had in the last 4 seasons 5 games where he's finished as a top 5 wide receiver. So he is usually that steady guy that's consistently going to get you those wide receiver 2 numbers from here, for the most part. He's not going to win you games, though. That's the big thing. Like, that's the key. If you're spending, if he's your wide receiver 22, you want him to have a few games where he just blows up and he makes those big numbers. And you're never going to get that with Keenan Allen, especially at 31 years old. So
let's finish with a Dallas Cowboy. I see you got Dak Prescott as your buy. So tell me about him.
Yeah, so I have Dak Prescott as a buy, and I was still looking. There we go. So Dak Prescott. So he's currently ADP 710, and that's quarterback 10 overall. Now, you got to remember, though, with ADP, we're doing this off of Fantasy Pros, or at least I did mine off of Fantasy Pros. And that 710 is figuring in single quarterback and Superflex leagues. So in Superflex, he's going a little earlier. In single quarterback, he's going a little later. So keep that in mind, but his average is at the 710. So I spent most of the offseason talking about how Aaron Rodgers is my big buy this offseason. So I'm going to leave him off the list for now, but I had to mention it just to throw it out there. Like it's still Aaron Rodgers. But Dak Prescott is also a big buy for me because in one quarterback leagues right now, and a lot of the mocks I've done, I've been able to get Dak in the 10th, 11th, and 12th round, which is where I usually take my quarterback in one quarterback leagues anyway. So if I can get a guy that's going to finish high, in my opinion, with a low pick, then maybe I don't have to take another quarterback. Maybe I can only just take one later and maybe play the matchups if Dak isn't working out. But Dak was the QB 13 last year in points per game, and that's including the week 1 game where he was hurt against the Bucks. And he later went on to have a 36-point fantasy game against the Bucks in the playoffs. So had he not gone out early in that game, who knows? Definitely probably would have been like right around that quarterback 11, at least maybe 10 in points per game last season. I know that the team says that they're going to run, but they let Zeke go and then they sign Brandon Cooks, and their actions are kind of suggesting
who looks good. Brandon Cooks looks good. They're connecting.
Well, I mean, and Brandon Cooks has always been pretty decent, but now he probably looks good because he has a good quarterback. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, guys. I don't know how else to say. Like I hear a lot of crap about Dak, and I get it. He's got a goofy looking warm up, but whatever, it works. But even though they're saying they're going to run the ball, their suggestions or what they're showing on the field and in camp would suggest that they're going to throw the ball as well. They're not going to just run right now. And it doesn't even make sense to lose Zeke and then say you're going to run the wheels off of Pollard. Like he's not built like that. He does need somebody to spell him a little bit, and he needs a passing game because he's still a smallish guy. Like he's not a huge running back. But either way, Dak is a QB 10 in drafts. And like I said, without that injury and early on, that's about where he would have finished last year. But now I can see more of a consistency moving forward, and a chance for him to have some big games where he's going to win you weeks, at least like 3 games throughout the season where he's going to be a top 3 quarterback. So if he's just doing enough to keep you in it every single week, and then those few games he blows up, you'll get wins for sure those few weeks. And every win counts. So he's definitely going to be on a lot of fantasy football playoff teams because of where he's being drafted and the potential he has to keep you in games each week.
Love it. I know we got some more names on here, but we do have a Gilded Chat and we do have a Patreon exclusive channel in the Gilded Chat. So the Gilded Chat is free to everybody. Reach out to us if you want to get in there at Coach Sheps on the Twitter, or Justin's at JustinFF_, or reach out to the show at Toilets to Titles, and we will get you the link. We will get you in there. You can mock with us. You can talk fantasy football with us. But if you want to get some of the exclusive content we'll be doing all in season, which is our waiver wire episodes that release every Monday morning, and we're working on some other ways. We're going to be doing some, I think we're doing some other stuff. We were talking about it before the show. So if you want to get on there, patreon.com/Toilets to Titles. If you are a Patreon member, look for us to release some of these additional buys and sells on the ADP after the show. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Everybody who completed the rock, paper, scissors with the Toilets to Titles crew and with their divisions, we appreciate you. We hope you enjoyed it. Here's to next year where the rock, paper, scissors competition is only going to get bigger because we're only going to have more divisions. But you know what? We're in this year, and this year is going to be absolutely bananas. Year 4, looking forward to it. Frankenstank, fantasy football. It's redraft season. The Fantasy Football Expo is this weekend. So everybody who's going there, including you, Justin, George, Jason, I know D-Now is going to be out there. Everybody have a good time. Yeah, have a good time. Stay safe. Travel safely. We will catch you all